Yo, what's up, guys? Yo, we're waiting for Kyle to jump on. Send him a message real quick. We're gonna do our bodybuilder bro chat, guys. We're gonna be talking about bodybuilding in like 2 seconds. I'm being a millennial right now, and I'm like not understanding how to add Kyle to the fucking thing. So excuse me, man. He can eat and be on this live with me too. Unable to join Instagram. If you don't stop with the bullshit. There we go. I hear a noise.
There we go. Now,
What's up, bro? Dude,
as
let me.
I'm not the most tech savvy individual on the face of the planet. Probably my
So, okay, this is what happened. I'll get everybody, all 29 people that are opposite of how I'm like dead. So I was trying to do this live on my book so that I can have the questions up on the story that I uploaded, and it just simply wasn't logging. So now I'm trying to figure out how to access the questions that I pre-recorded with my brain.
Yeah, I honestly I wrote a few down on my phone, and then I realized I was like, last time we did this, I ran into the same issue because I couldn't then go into my Instagram to look at the poll. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna write it down in my notes. But I'm like, it's still on my phone, which I'm using live. But honestly, I had a couple questions that were repetitive, so I remember a nice few. So we can definitely get into some of those for sure.
Same. I love y'all that are watching this. I'll be asking this key. So we're gonna answer those questions for the millionth time, and some of them not stuck out to me as new as well. Do it. But before we get into the questions, bro, I'm like more questions for you in particular because at this point you're more well than I am when it comes to bodybuilding. So a huge thing that I'm curious about is your experience with competing, and if I know that we label ourselves like trans bodybuilders, like literally a bodybuilder stuck on influence mode. But did being trans impact your decision to compete, and did it impact the actual competition?
Yeah, so if I'm being completely honest with you, I feel as if I hadn't transitioned, and let's say theoretically speaking, I was born cis male, this whole journey probably would have started 10 years ago. So I feel like because it took me almost 10 years into my transition before I got my top surgery, that was kind of the thing that I felt like, well, I can't actually get up on stage and show my physique like this, is how I felt personally, in my own opinion. So that kind of held me back. So when that was kind of out of the way, then I was just 100% let's go forward with this. I definitely have a background in of course, a lot of competitive sports, ranging from gymnastics to ice hockey to swimming, kickboxing, you name it. So I've had that competitive nature in me, and it was almost as I went through my transition when I was 16, that kind of slowed my role, let's say, in how much I was engaging in those things, because obviously I was dealing with a lot of dysphoria that came with some maybe some self-confidence things and mental health and things along those lines, as we all know. So realistically speaking, do I think that being trans influenced me doing bodybuilding? I think I more so it opened the door for me to actually be able to do what I wanted to do, if that makes sense. But in terms of did it affect my competition per se, I definitely don't think it affected my competition whatsoever. If anything, I was kind of shocked by how much camaraderie, how much support I had from obviously, my amazing followers and all my friends and family, but from people that I've literally never even spoken to words to before that are in like my local community or like, you know, even like different provinces in the country over here that reached out to me and stuff like that. So, you know, it was super, super cool to like have that experience. And, you know, I wasn't really seen whatsoever as, you know, you're a trans guy competing with cis guys. It was just like, we all hard, we all put our fucking asses on the line for prep. You know, a lot of the guys that I competed with also like go to the same gym that I go to. So like we were literally like side by side grinding it out. So, you know, if anything, I think I just like appreciated just being viewed as like in a neutral sense, because a lot of other sport things that I've been involved with, it's been like I feel like there's always been like a little bit of like in how other people respond to it, there seems to be a lot of hesitancy to, if that's the right word to put on it, I'm not 100% sure, but essentially like I didn't feel that way participating in this sport whatsoever. You know, like everyone opened me with welcome arms, and I think because of the nature of the sport, you know, you're putting so much work into transforming yourself into how you want to view yourself or how you truly feel. You know, I feel like in a sense, like about like somebody who is seriously into bodybuilding and somebody who is transitioning probably can relate to a lot of things that like coincide with each other, if that makes any sense. So that's what I kind of like got from my experience from it. But that was only my first show. So, you know, that's just what I got from my initial of the sport.
Sounds positive. I mean, I think that just to kind of spin off of what you said, the and I'm like, oh, bodybuilding, other guy who's also competing. I've spoken to a lot who are cis, have nothing to do with the community, anything like that, but they simply just as hard work. So I think that is it there's an echo, bro? Is your like a thing?
What do you say, sorry?
Like my audio is like hitting the bottom of your phone, so it's echoing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Here, let me do it. Let me do a different setup.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Mr. Oliver.
Yeah, whoever said that, thank you, because gotta make sure everything's nice and crispy clear here.
Heck wizard.
Yeah, it's probably because I had that set up like the way I had it angled because I wanted to like sit at my desk. So I kind of had it angled on my laptop instead of on my tripod like I usually would. So I think you're maybe getting like back echo off that, if that makes sense.
No, you had to be that guy because the YouTube video was going to be asked if you didn't say that, bro. I'm just responding to the comment. Okay, boom, cool.
Yeah, shout out to whoever said that, for real.
For sure. So,
but just to touch base, is that echo gone now? Is that all good for
gone,
everybody?
bro? I think it's gone. I can't hear it. I low-key did hear it, but I assumed that it was just on my end. So, yeah. So
okay, beauty.
Okay, so back to competing. I think that there's this very big I'm tomboy. there's this very big conception for like a lot of trans masculine people that gym is like this frightening ass place, and I totally understand that. Like that's valid because I've had like weird run-ins with guys who obviously have like little dick energy. But as more in training, like I look like I work out. I'm also friends with guys who also look like they work out as well as girls who work out. And we would never look at someone who's just entering the gym and be like, look at this pussy, they can't even bench the bar. Like I would do that. And like I feel like if you're barrier to entry, like you really want to work out, you really want to get in the gym, but these big bodybuilder dudes are like intimidating you, like no, that's not that it's not a real thing, but anybody who would look down on you is probably, you can't tell because you're a newbie, but they're probably like low-key not even like impressive. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the guy checking out.
And like the other thing is like every single person that you possibly think in the gym is like, wow, this person's huge. Guess what? They started off exactly the same place that everybody else started off. And if anything, like the more experienced people I found in my gym actually have more respect for people that are starting off, because it's like we all understand we all got to start somewhere, you know? So realistically speaking, like, you know, it might be, you know, every blue moon that you run into somebody like that. But, you know, like you said, chances are they're probably just an idiot. You don't want anything to do with it anyways.
Genuinely, that I so when I look back, like I've had one or two instances where people were assholes to me, but when I look back, I'm like, bro, you didn't even ask that. Like you didn't even. I was just smaller than you, but you were also small, so you're just picking on whoever was smaller than you. But you're like, do you know what I'm saying? Like the kind of people who look down at other people in the gym are probably thinking that somebody else is doing it to them, so they're gonna beat somebody else to the punch, if that makes sense. Like it's, and to be honest, like I don't even think about like social relations is not even like a thought in my head when I'm training. It's literally I move this weight from point A to point B. Anything like outside noise and it doesn't fucking matter to me. But someone said my gym is a steroid friendly gym, so it was very intimidating at first. I can imagine. I mean, at the end of the day, like whatever other people do or whatever people look like, I can imagine it would. Hi, Derek. I can imagine that it would like be intimidating when you first get in there, but then when you realize like, oh, weight is a weight is a weight. It doesn't matter who else is around weight. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make a huge difference. I just hate the stigmatism around being AFAB. Like even like I were afraid of it. Like my girlfriend was afraid because it's like a super mask energy, but it doesn't have to be. It shouldn't be like a barrier of entry, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
yes, sir. So, okay, this is going to be a little bit of like a more personal question. If you're not comfortable, then you can be like, "That's strange, Devin." But
I'm sure we're good. As you know, I'm a pretty open book over here.
so this is a question that I'm asking because obviously I plan on competing probably in like 2025 because I'm not trying to be a stick figure on stage. So was there a thought in your head about should I pack on stage or was it?
Honestly, if I'm being completely honest with you, like it was definitely something that crossed my mind, obviously. Um, you know, I was obviously competing at a local competition where I've lived, you know, for pretty much my whole life. So, you know, a thought had crossed my mind because, you know, obviously I do live my life pretty open, but at the same time, like, I don't walk around broadcasting it. Like, if you follow my Instagram, then you probably would know. But, like, in day-to-day life, like, you know, it's not really, you know, like most of us, we don't go up and introduce ourselves and be like, oh, it's not something that's really relevant, you know? So I was like, oh, well, I'm going to get up on stage in front of thousands of people potentially that I have no idea who they are. So it definitely like thought crossed my mind. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? Honestly, like I don't pack ever. I don't actually, you know, deal with that on a regular basis. And
Right.
even though it's something that might cross my mind every now and again, I was like, you know what? The thought of something potentially going wrong in that whole scenario while me trying to do some poses, I was like, nah, that would fuck up everything for me. So I was just like personally, I was just like, it doesn't bother me as much because I'm so focused on like the goal, which is present your best physique. You know, I knew I put my work into my prep and I was there to showcase the work of that. And I think I definitely like desensitized myself a little tiny bit because when I first started going to the gym, obviously like if you go back on my Instagram and look at like any of my like post workout posing or anything like that, it would either be like when I got home from the gym in privacy or like, you know, maybe in a stall at the bathroom
Right.
after the gym. But like in the past year or so, I was kind of just like started posing, you know, maybe just in my shorts out in the main gym. And then as I was going through prep, I was like, you know, at some point you're gonna have to deal with the fact that like you need to be comfortable with this. So then I like transitioned into, yeah, like I'm just gonna do my posing out in the gym in my boxers, like anybody else who's doing a prep, you know. So I think like doing that process kind of was just like, okay, now I feel a little bit more comfortable like getting up on stage
Closure.
in front of people, you know. But definitely a good question because it was something that I was thinking about from time to time.
Valid. I think that makes total sense, and I've experienced the same thing. Like when I first got top surgery, I didn't even like take my shirt off anywhere for like at least like 3 months, bro. And it's crazy because I have a client who literally just had surgery. I think like 6 weeks ago, and he's already like taking his pictures and shit in the gym. And I'm like, I envy you. Like I wish that I even now, bro. Even now, like sometimes people are gonna see my scars. Maybe they'll assume trans, maybe they'll think that I had gyno surgery, or that I was overweight or something. But it makes me feel like nervous in my scars, and I think there's a little bit of a difference there. Like all the trans guys, not that it's a huge deal, but it's the trans guys that I know that have competed have not had visible scars. Like Alex doesn't have visible scars. You don't have visible scars. My friend Komari, who's pretty popular here as well, he hasn't had top surgery.
Has he not had top surgery?
No, he hasn't had top surgery.
Bro, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, no, he hasn't. Who else?
Like sick.
Sawyer has. So Sawyer had double. I don't know if anybody knows Sawyer's story. I'll do a shout out of everybody that I just mentioned in a story after we get off this live, so you guys can follow them as one. But I say all that to say, like, my scars are like somewhat visible, like especially like a front double bicep, you can really see them. So that's kind of like the drawback of, okay, either people are going to assume that I'm overweight or people are going to assume I'm trans, and it's like, ugh. And if people assume I'm trans, and they're like, it's kind of like if people already know you're trans, what's the point of packing? People know you weren't that appendage. You know what I mean? So yeah. I'm just like, ideally, by the time I do compete, my scars will be faded a bit more, just because like edges, they're a little bit darker. But that's like, it's interesting. Like there's an extra level of nuance of like, you know, like I do have visible scars. Nipples honestly also look like questionable. They certainly don't look like regular non-surgical placed nipples, if that makes sense. So I don't know,
bro. Like I've been looking at your chest. Your chest looks fucking amazing, bro. Like the amount of like quality chest tissue you've put on since post-op, like just had to take a second to just be like, bro, like you gotta be fucking proud of that, because I'm fucking watching the fibers develop, and it's great to watch from over here, man. So props to you.
I'm sure you can really, I appreciate that for sure. And like whenever people say that, I do, like, I understand that, but it's also like there's a difference, and I spoke to Alex about this as well. Like there's a difference between being an influencer and being a bodybuilder. And it's like, I look good on pictures, right? And that's super cool. Obviously I look better than like the average person, but when you diet down to stage lean, how much of that is like glycogen and like the muscle is not pumped up, versus if I diet down to be fucking shredded like you were, am I going to have a flat wall of a chest? That is, you know, like that's a fear. So I guess that's why I'm kind of pushing, because obviously, you know, like there's a big hype around competing right now. And I honestly, it's funny. I spoke to my sister-in-law competes. Like actually she's having a competition this Saturday, which is dope. I spoke to her.
That's so dope. Well, good luck to her. Let's go.
He said that I'll show her your Instagram. This was probably like before the pandemic, like 2020, but not even 2020, like 2019. I competed already in 2017, and she was like, "Would you ever compete?" And I was question mark. I don't see that for myself. Sounds cool. I say all that to say, I listened to the band before they were cool. Like I always had this concept of competing in my head, and I'm just not gonna rush it. To a lot of people, here's a spoiler alert, guys. A lot of people like compete for engagement or just because their likes go crazy when they compete. A lot of people don't even care about winning, as they get to put on that protein and like step on a stage and get some nice. They're like, I did that shit. I won in my own book. But I don't compete for participation trophies. Like I also grew up competitive. I think we discussed this the last time.
Yeah.
I could probably look pretty fucking cool right now if I dieted down to like some stupid body fat percentage. Like I looked really cool, but would I win? Probably not. So that's why I'm shooting for like 2025. But I'm just interested in like being trans, because obviously, like you said, it wasn't a big deal for you. Like being trans, competing never really had any clashing impact on each other, I guess is the point of that. But I feel like I might have a different. I'm not trying to have it be a thought going into competition or anything like that. But I feel like I just might. I don't know, bro. I'm like if you couldn't tell, like in my head type of situation. So, anyways,
I'm so sorry. My cat is rubbing up on my tripod.
Again. bro. This turning into like a Devon therapy session. Hello, my cat is speaking of being a fat ass for sure.
uh,
Um,
but yeah, no, dude, I think that that's like a super solid plan for you because, like, you know, I kind of did a similar thing in which, like, you know, it was like exactly 2 years post-op that I had competed because I kind of gave myself like a little bit of time to like get back into the gym, get back into the flow of things, you know, get things moving again. And then it was pretty much like, okay, like I'm liking how I'm looking, but I was like in that phase where I feel like a lot of trans guys are in where it's like, oh, I don't really want to put on a lot of body fat though. So, you know, I kind of held off for a little tiny bit. And then it was like, okay, like if you really want to do this, and like you said yourself, like I'm not about participation medals, like, you know, I totally respect anybody who just wants to do it for the grind and do it for a life experience, like totally. And it's like people do things for different reasons, and I totally respect that. But like for me personally, like I go out to win, like I want to go out and draw some blood, you know, like it is a competition at the end of the day, and that's how I see it. So realistically speaking, it was like, yeah, like you got to go into a serious bulk. But then I feel like, you know, you're pretty good at, you know, keeping your bulking lean, which is really, really beneficial, you know?
bro, before I got surgery.
I don't know, man. You kept it pretty, I would say you kept it tighter than like two bulks ago. Like I was probably like 30 plus
Okay.
body fat percentage,
Yeah,
you know?
bro, I'm gonna be super honest with you. I never planned on bulking as hard as I bulked before top surgery. I was literally, I look back on that time period. I was literally a demon, demon from hell. Like I didn't, my training wasn't super. So like now, I'll be fully transparent here. Since I've gotten top surgery, my calories have not surpassed like 2,900. So like all of this growth that I've seen within the past almost a year and like 2 weeks has been never surpassing 2,900. With that being said, I feel like people severely overestimate the amount of food that they need to grow, and that's how they get fat as shit. And I've maintained like 10,000, like 9,000 if I'm being lazy, 9,000 to 10,000 steps a day. I have like one off-plan meal, and my girlfriend will laugh at me. Really, just like it's like chicken hibachi, shrimp hibachi, like Vietnamese food. Like I don't really. I think I've had like for my birthday, I had like a cheat day where I was again a demon from hell because I can fucking eat.
Yeah, I feel you there, man.
Bro, it was demonic, and I'm gonna do that shit again because I'm only gonna be alive for this lifetime, I think, right? So I say all that to say, like, somebody just asked a question about bulking, right? And they said, advice for FTM bulking without the hourglass again, struggling with thick ass and thighs right now. So you
Yeah,
have
I
to look at.
also had a question come up a couple times about like both how long should you bulk for in terms of time, which I want to touch base on because it's not necessarily about time. And I also had a question about like how much rate of gain is appropriate for somebody who identifies as FTM.
Good ass questions. So I guess we can just now we're gonna transition into bulking, because I do understand the aspect of nuance when it comes to I'm not trying to look like a girl, but I'm trying to build muscle. My biggest focal point when it comes to bulking is don't think more is necessarily best, right? Like a lot of people get into this mindset of I want to gain 1 pound, 1 pound a week, and that can be beneficial starting from absolute scratch and you're highly insulin sensitive and you have a busy ass schedule and you're always moving. But I know a lot of us don't be moving like that. A lot of us, I ask
Yeah.
people to track steps and move like 5,000 if they're good steps a day, and it's like, yeah, son, you don't need a 600 calorie surplus if you're getting, like 5,000 steps a day. So to bring it into like, I guess a more layman terms, like calculate your caloric intake as much as that's gonna fucking annoy everybody to hear because I feel like people want to hear like eat this amount every single day. Like no one can. I don't know if you get DM
Yeah, like so it's so individualized.
that.
Like every single person's body is going to utilize not only carbs and fats at a different rate, but have a different rate of digestion for their proteins. So like it doesn't even make sense that someone's going to, and like you said, like people have different caloric outputs throughout their week depending on how much they're walking, their other activity levels, what their job consists of. So it's like there is no template based on also like I could be the exact same individual speaking of me as myself but my insulin sensitivity halfway through my bulk versus directly after my show was in a completely different place. Therefore, what I'm actually gonna be able to utilize is in a completely different place, you know? And I feel like that's a big thing that people, or like just following someone else's plan. It's like, well, you're almost the same size as me. It's like, no, bro. Like internally, you're probably not working the exact same way as someone else that you think might have an external similar structure as you.
So here's, because I feel like a lot of what we said just sounded like jargon, and people are like, "Can you stop speaking science right now?"
True.
So number one would be, if you're looking to bulk, literally go online, calorie calculator. I always suggest freedieting.com to people because it's like relatively accurate. And literally just, it's gonna your age, your height, your weight, all of that. You're gonna input that. Now when it asks for your activity level, don't just be, oh, like I walk around school and have a job, so I'm highly active, and I work out, so I'm the most active individual. Underestimate level. I promise you're not as active as you think. Okay, so that's gonna outline. It's gonna spit out caloric surplus for you. Okay, so a set of calories and macros is nothing if you know how to apply it. So after you calculate your caloric intake, I'll answer that question. I promise. After you calculate your caloric intake, you're gonna literally just sit here and outline a meal plan for yourself. The most simple thing you can do, or you're gonna like roll your eye, is literally like protein, carb, and fat is gonna probably come from the protein item that you're having, and then a vegetable, right? So super, be like, okay, if I do 8 ounces of chicken, if I do 100 grams of rice, if I do 100 grams of broccoli, how many calories do you get me? Okay, I have to eat 2,000 calories. How many ounces of each food item do I have to have for each meal? How many calories does that give me? Okay, I'm eating this amount of calories for the day. That's the most simple way you can create a meal plan for yourself. Like, yeah, we're bored by chicken, rice, and broccoli. I'm sure you can buy a meal plan from me, and it's super fucking simple. But it's like, if you
Exactly.
don't,
It's like, there's probably at least 15 different recipes in the run of a week that I use to make a different combination of chicken and rice. It's like whether it's like a quesadilla with chicken and rice on it, or I'm making stir fry, or I'm making it into a freaking soup. Like I literally, like there's so many different ways if you want to be creative about it and still keep it super simple, and like, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. So, but like you said, like in order for anybody to understand where they actually are in terms of what their maintenance calories are, then like you guys got to track what you're eating,
you're like,
so like that's the first starting place, is find out what you're doing right now, and then whether it's putting yourself anywhere from 100 to 200 calories in a surplus or in a deficiency, depending on what your goal is, then obviously when that stops working, then you make another adjustment, so you can simplify pretty easily without making things too stressful at the end of the day.
so exactly. And if you're someone who doesn't want to track their, because I understand like that can be daunting, and it can come with like, triggers and stuff like that. Literally just write out what food items you're gonna have, like in a notes. It doesn't have to be measurement, because I know that can be triggering, and I know it can also be like daunting of a task to tackle. So if you just outline like, okay, I'm gonna have one chicken breast, a cup of rice, you can still titrate that up or down based on your goals. But to bring it back to be super fucking simple, track your food within some fucking
Some type of metric. Yeah.
some method. Like if you're literally logging your, sticking to a meal plan that someone created for you, or if you're making a super simple meal plan for yourself, you have to be able to move the food up or down. So we're talking about bulking. Write out, okay, for breakfast, a cup of oatmeal, milk, scoop of protein powder. Write out for every single thing. And here's the biggest thing: a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm bulking, but I can't gain weight," or "I'm bulking, but I got too fat." Tell me what you ate too. Like you can't, because you were just eating a random food. And you're like, "This feels like a lot. I'm gonna gain a pound." Like that's
Yeah.
arbitrary. Like that means nothing, right? So understand what your day-to-day food intake is, even if it's on a super vague level, as much as like one chicken breast, one cup of rice, etc. Because when you know how much you're eating, you can get from there. Like that's bulking most simple sense, I feel like. And then you have on the other end of that, obviously nutrition is huge. That's why we spent a long time talking about it. A lot of people go into bulks, they don't need to, because if you train, a lot of people don't train like they work out, like you're just like, yeah, yeah, you don't have to bulk if that's how out, okay? Because you're literally just gonna get fat because you've not done anything to require growth. Like it's just serving no purpose. So before you even decide to bulk, your training is actually not breaking down the muscle, because obviously we know that's not real, but like
Yeah, but like I completely agree with what you're saying. Like there needs to be intent, there needs to be structure, there needs to be reasoning for the programming, which what you're doing, and like there has to be like a balance between not too much volume, but ensuring that we're bringing intensity to our sets, because that's the biggest thing that I see the mark that's missed with people, especially when we're first getting into the gym. It's like you said, we're just moving it from where it starts to where it ends, but there's no control. There's no fighting the negative, keeping the tension on the muscle. And like at the end of the day, I've seen 100 million% times more growth from using slightly lighter weights, but having perfect form, perfect tension on the muscle, because the stimulation is greater. At the end of the day, my muscle doesn't know what number is written on that bar. At the end of the day, my muscle is feeling the stimulus that's created and thus reacts to that by adapting. And that's what's giving me the growth. So I think like stimulus and intensity are probably like two of the most important things that I think in terms of our training, as long as the execution of the exercise, of course, is appropriate.
That's what and if you're a beginner and you're watching this, understand that mind muscle connection is the foundation upon which you add weight, right? So a lot of us like, well, we know progressive overload, right? We know we should be using heavier to grow, but that's the difference between a power lifter and a bodybuilder. Is a bodybuilder is like, I feel like my muscles are gonna fucking explode. Does that make sense to like everybody? I hope so. So always, whenever you're selecting your exercises, make sure you can actually feel movement, right? Like if you're doing a bicep curl, you're not just swinging the weight around. You actually have to feel the sense. You have to feel the exercise. Okay. Whenever I'm talking to kids and I'm like reviewing their training logs, and I'm like, do you feel like you can move up for this press, or would you lose your mind muscle connection? Never add weight to an exercise if you make that 5-pound jump and all of a sudden you can't feel shit. Like we're not power lifters. We're not, looking at our training log and being like, I want to go for a PR today, so I'm going to do whatever it takes to get this weight up. Like, okay, son, like go put on a onesie. Like that's not what we're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Straight up. I personally view, I have more value on progressive overload in terms of increasing my time under tension or increasing a better rep from start to finish than getting an extra 2.5 pounds or getting an extra 2 reps. Like for me, it's more about getting better at what we're doing, making what would seem to be considered an easier weight as hard as it possibly imaginably could be, and I think there's a lot of value in that if you can learn how to train like that. We did have a question a little while back that I think that I missed. So someone asked if can a guy who's 5'8" get a physique as good as a guy who's 5'10"? And the short and sweet answer to that is yeah, 150%. So in actual fact, in the bodybuilding world, the shorter you are, in actual fact, it actually makes it a little bit easier to fill out. So let's take me, for example. I'm like 5'5" and a half, so I'm like a little under 5.5 feet tall. Because of the length of my limbs and my insertion points, like I can fill out my bicep, or I can fill out, my shoulders a little bit faster per se in terms of the illusion it creates on my frame, right? Whereas someone that would be 5'10", if you have longer limbs, let's say longer arms, for example, well, then that's going to take technically more tissue to make it look as full and as big. So you can most definitely, doesn't matter what your height is, have a fantastic physique. It more so boils down to who can tick the boxes consistently for the most days in a row, because that's who's going to get the most progress in terms of a bodybuilding physique development standpoint. Who's getting every single meal in, who's never missing a workout, who's getting their sleep, who's keeping their stress levels low. Like at the end of the day, that matters more than height in any type of conversation in the bodybuilding world. And that's my opinion, but I don't know if you had anything to add to that, Devon.
Bro, you hit all the marks, and I will say, like I'm 5'10", and I low key envy my homies that are a little bit shorter, because like people who are just feel like so much faster. I have a friend who started training relatively at the same time as me when I first started at LA Fitness, and he's like probably like 2 inches shorter than me, and I can tell you like this guy is not as dialed in as I am whatso fucking ever, Buddy just looks jacked. Like obviously genetics play into that and everything, but you're literally compact. Like you have less frame to fill out. You know, it's just going to be not easier because building muscle is hard as shit no matter who you are, but it's easier to look fuller if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which
Also, someone just commented, which I completely 100,000,000% agree with. At Someone said, like, at my fellow powerlifters here,
I mean,
do your accessories with that mindset.
yeah.
Like 100% yes. Like accessories as a powerlifter is only going to completely directly go back into your compound lifts and benefit your progress in that area. Now, I'm not saying go excessive with volume with accessories, but they are so important for time under tension, which is a different style of training that most powerlifters are used to. But I go to a gym and I work at a gym that is a very like complex type of dynamic of people. There's lots of bodybuilders, there's lots of powerlifters, there's CrossFitters. So there's lots of different things that are going on. But the powerlifters that I watch that are able to really lock in and focus on their mind muscle connection with their accessories are the ones that progress the fastest with their actual squat, bench, and deadlifts, right? So I could not agree more with that point that someone brought up just then.
Stronger a muscle group is, like if your triceps are strong, your bench is going to blow up. If your by relative, but like if your quads are insane, your hammies are insane, your glutes are insane, your squat's going to blow up. So it's like if your forearms are as strong as possible, like you're doing curls, your deadlift is going to be better. So there's just multiple, like, let it low key.
Even just like the like basic things in terms of like also benefiting us from a functionality day-to-day life aspect, like doing ab training and things like that, like that's only going to help your bracing for your lifts as well. But it's like these are things that we need to keep engaged and active and healthy for a healthy long life, you know. So you know there's more elements I feel like that go into that as well.
I agree. I think that overall, like, there's so many nuances. You just mentioned powerlifting, bodybuilding, like CrossFit. I don't like CrossFit, but whatever. That's probably because I have like poor cardio. But
yeah, your boy can't survive a CrossFit class. That's for sure. Especially now that we're in bulk mode, that's not going down.
But I think like no matter what you do, if you give, when we remove aesthetics, when we remove all this shit, like if you say you're gonna do something, do it. And I'm like boiling everything down to its finest point here, like super micro, or I guess macro level, right? A lot of people are like, oh well, I started working out and then I stopped, or I started dieting and then I stopped. And it's like, if you say you're gonna do something, then just do it. Whether it's bulking, whether it's cutting, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's CrossFit, powerlifting, whatever the fuck, just like stop robbing yourself. Like, okay, I fell off. Now I'm gonna start again. Now I'm gonna start again. It's easier to keep going, even if you feel like. I've had some clients who are like, oh well, I didn't go on my 5th training day because I felt like I wasn't gonna do a good job. But you were gonna do a job, right? Like you were gonna show up, like you were gonna do something. Sure, that's more impactful than just not showing up whatsoever, right? Okay, so let's do that. So like every day, like a super corny bodybuilding quote is like every day adding a brick to the wall. Sometimes that brick is like not the same size as the other bricks. Sometimes that brick is not as powerful as the other bricks. But as long as you adding
one of my
wall, yeah,
favorite quotes right here. You can have results or excuses, not both, by the good Arnold Schwarzenegger, who even though I'm in front of him, he's obviously out angling me still. But yeah, no, it's completely true, man. 150%. You know, if you're gonna do something, just stick with it. And that also goes to people, because it's a common thing that I see a lot of people like bouncing back and forth between like I'm gonna bulk, I'm gonna cut, I'm gonna bulk, I'm gonna cut, and it's like, okay, like we're doing this yo-yo dieting, and like I feel like I've already said this 100 times, so I'm not even gonna get into the conversation, but like just stick with a phase. You're gonna get the most results out of that.
Said, well, it's hard to have work and gym life balance. I mean, it comes down to sustainability, right? Like I have people who literally like Oliver was just on a call. The guy his at is Secretive Bagels. Buddy literally is a full-time college, has a full-time job, and we still train. We're moving 4 times a week in January and more sessions. But if you train even 2 times a week, one upper day and one lower day, and you watch, that is called work-life gym balance. Stop thinking that you have to be this crazy bodybuilder in the gym 5 times a week in order to do anything. You're just robbing yourself of giving true effort. It's not 100% or 0%. There's gains to be made at 50%. And I'm sure you can speak to this as well, because I know you have.
What did you say? Sorry?
You could speak to this as well. I know you have a busy schedule.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like realistically speaking, like, you know, my day starts at 6 a.m. every day of the week. You know, I get up, I immediately have my first meal because I am most hungry in the morning. And then I take my dog out for a 45-minute walk, and then it's back for at least 2 hours of, you know, client updates, whether it's updating meal plans, training plans, you know, having conversations with clients. And then it's time to eat again. And then I go to work for a 10-hour day. And then after that 10-hour day, I train for an hour and a half every night, you know? So at the end of the day, is that the most optimal schedule? No, not whatsoever. Yeah. It's not optimal. If it was, what the most optimal thing would be was for me to be able to sleep 12 hours a day and get another hour nap in and sit home and eat my meals all day, but that's not practical and that's not life. So you need to create something that's a sustainable balance for you. So, you know, whether that's doing a 4-day split or a 5-day split, and, you know, maybe once a week giving yourself, you know, an hour where you have quiet time to just completely desensitize yourself to be ready to have another busy week again. You know, burnout is totally a real thing. So even though I do a really, really tight schedule all week long, at least once a month, I go, okay, I have 2 days where I'm not going to make an Instagram post. I'm not going to take an hour and sit down and make a reel and a fantastic caption today, because I'm going to take 2 days in a row to recharge myself. Mm-hmm. So I'm still doing my online client work. I'm still doing all that stuff. But like taking those times and setting boundaries where you can cut a little bit of corners, like that there's so much power in that. So, you know, when I hear people say like, yeah, I don't have time to go to the gym, you know, I'm working 40 hours a week. It's like, I got clients that literally work more than I work, and they got multiple kids, and they're out here being like, oh man, I'm doing fasted cardio on top of my training right now because I'm feeling so good. It's like, man, I don't know how you have the time to do this, but like, respect, you know? So where there is a will, there is a way, you know, but there's obviously always the importance of having that balance, like you said before, you know, because burning yourself out and trying to overexert yourself, like you said, you're not even pushing your best in your workouts at that point in time. But it's just about being mindful, and like, if you're not somebody who has the ability to take like insight in your present situation and be like, okay, what percentage am I at right now of like how much more I can keep pushing things, like, then you might need to rely on maybe setting a reminder on your phone once a month, or maybe once every 2 weeks, to have a mental check-in with yourself to say, okay, what level of burnout am I at right now? Is this beneficial to keep going? Because not everybody has the ability to, in the moment, constantly be self-reflecting in with themselves. And that's more than normal for a human being. So I found, you know, when I was running into that issue, that's how I kind of resolved it. Every second week, every second Thursday, I knew I only had a short work day. So I would set an alarm when I got home to assess that, because I was so busy, I would forget to even check in on myself. So, you know, that's definitely a good tactic to go about in terms of like gauging where you actually are, because when you have a busy schedule, you forget to even, you know, think sometimes. I can be a victim of that for sure.
I think that like someone at LA gyms just all over the place. I know a lot of my clients in LA, and it comes down to something is better than nothing. And I know you don't have a whole fucking home gym set up at your house, even, or your home, whatever. Like, even if you have, dude, I have literally clients who are truck drivers, and they have like a yoga mat and a set of dumbbells. Like, it's not all or nothing. And if you're someone who's saying like, oh, well, if I can't be Arnold in the gym 5 days a week, then I just simply shouldn't try at all. You are taking the weak way out, because you're making excuses for yourself. And I totally hate becoming David Goggins, who's like, oh, well, you just got to man up, son. That's not what I'm trying to say whatsoever. Like, even if you can't get a full chest day in at the gym with flies, with the fly machine and the bench press and all of that, you can do push-ups, you can do a dumbbell fly, you can do chest press. Like, that is adding a brick to the wall. Like, even doing something, even if you feel like nothing, even if it's just 30-minute like at home dumbbell, you contributed to your overall goal, and that's progress, and that's keeping you pushing in the right direction. I really hate for people to be like, oh, well, I can't do this because I can't train 2 hours a day. So what do you expect? Like, stop it. Like,
Yeah, and also like, realistically speaking, like, like I hit the gym like right before we hit this call. My workout was 47 minutes on the dot, you know, and I hit a savage shoulder workout, and I think it's safe to say for anybody that's been watching my shoulder growth that they're growing just damn fine, only having an hour pumping. So, realistically speaking, like you don't need to be in the gym 2-3 hours a day in order to get what you need. Get in there, have the right intensity, stimulate that shit, and get out. Go get yourself some food and rest up. Like, it doesn't need to be this big ordeal by any means. But
but I
what
also,
I also like to say that I'm going to say that 95% of the time, if I'm like, man, I'm feeling a little tired today, or maybe there was just like a couple things that just kept building all day. This thing happened, this thing happened, this thing happened, and my just like internal motivation by the end of the day is just like fuck, like I don't even really think I'm going to get that good of a pump right now because I'm not really feeling it. Like blah blah blah. I make myself go anyways every single time because I know my competition that I'm getting on stage with next year. They're not saying, yeah, let's go home and eat some ice cream. No, they're going to do their workout either way. And literally 95% of the time, those are some of the best workouts I ever had because it's not only that I got the endorphins and I actually did the thing. It's like I just had a win. When I was feeling defeat, I said, fuck that, I'm taking the win, And that in itself is something that makes you feel good. But yeah, I did also have a couple questions in regards to. I had a couple people asking me about what a reverse diet was because I know I have been bringing that up a bit recently because I definitely have a nice few clients right now that are concluding a reverse diet, approaching into their bulk phase here right now. So I figured we could touch base real quick on what that actually is for people that are looking to transition from a cut to a bulk. Not that it needs to be this huge, long phase and process, but it's probably one of the most crucial and important phases, in my opinion.
for sure. So essentially, guys, whenever you're doing these phases, right? Like if you're cutting, if you're reverse dieting slash recomping or whatever, and moving into a bulk, the more dialed in you are, the more productive it can be, right? So like whenever you're doing your weigh-ins, don't weigh in one day wearing Timberlands, the next day you're that's naked, the next day you're wearing a tank top. Like you need to be able to assess all these metrics. Be like, okay, should I in calories? Should I move up in calories? So if you're going to properly cut reverse diet bulk, you have to A, be tracking your calories. This is not time for guessing games food wise. Then B, you should be weighing in at least once a week, the same day, the same time of the week, the same level of clothing, because you need to be able to properly assess your weight and not have it like a guessing game, right? So two things to get out of the way. Now, the way that I like to apply reverse dieting is we're looking for essentially like weight maintenance. So obviously you're leaving a cutting phase. Literally, we're looking to stop losing weight in its like purest form. So, okay, if we're losing a pound a week, now we're looking to slowly find ability. So I like to like add 100 calories when the weight is still falling. Okay, this add 100 calories. Let's see how we respond to this next week. Now, if we're still losing weight, then we'll add 100 calories again. I don't like to, and I know my clients are so tired of hearing this. I fucking don't understand how people can go from, okay, I was in a 500 calorie deficit. Now I'm going to go ahead and enter a 1,000 calorie surplus. Like,
dude, I'm like, man, you guys are in the most insulin sensitive place right now. Like the amount of lean gains and the benefits and how much you can get out of this right now. And you're just skipping that whole part, throwing away all the potential and just jumping into like the later end of bulk, which is probably like the part where you're actually becoming a little more insulin resistant, which means your body's not actually utilizing the carbs and the proteins and everything as well as what it would have been at the beginning of your bulk when you're still lean. That's why you probably a lot of times hear people talk about like lean gaining and things along those lines. And like, no, keeping your abs while bulking, keeping a shredded six pack while bulking, that's not lean gains, because I guarantee you're barely making
probably not even
gains
at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's not what I mean when I say lean gaining, just to clarify, but lean gaining does mean that, personally myself, I don't think that people should be going anywhere above 0.5 to 1 pound a week. If you're gaining like 2-3 pounds every week, like I am sorry, there is not even professional bodybuilders that take a shit ton of steroids that can grow 3 pounds of muscle in 7 days.
Bro.
It's not possible.
And
You know?
I agree with that. I've had people who their goal is growth. They just have tunnel vision on, well, I want to weigh 170 pounds. And I've had people who like their weight jumps up 3 pounds at one check, and I'm like, whoa, okay, to assess, we need to pull back calories. And they've been like, but I thought I'm supposed to grow. Do you want to become a whale or do you want to build muscle? Because I'm down with the body positivity. If all you care about is getting thick, you don't care if it's muscle or fat, we can do that too. But if you want to do this the healthiest way possible, and we're looking to gain lean muscle, the 3 pounds is not going to cut it. So you have to be realistic about, like you said, half a pound, 3/4 of a pound, 1 pound per week. 1 pound is honestly pushing it. I wouldn't, someone who's experienced, I wouldn't even do one. It's like, no, we're not getting a pound of muscle. That's not happening. Like half a pound way more realistic, and then be comfortable with maintaining weight every once in a while as well. The more food you base hold doesn't necessarily mean more gain. Look at your training intensity. Are you moving up? Are you feeling the muscle stimulated, stuff like that? A lot of people look at food and like, oh, I'm stagnant. Well, my moved up in 2 weeks. I guess I gotta eat more food. Okay.
Yeah, like like something that I see very commonly. It's like people are like, hey, I'm starting my off season, I'm starting my bulk phase, and then they might be weighing themselves once a week just to track the rate of gain, but they're like, yeah, training's good, fine, but yeah, some weeks I'm improving, some weeks I'm not, but I'm making sure to bring my calories up 200 calories every week. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Why do you need to bring your calories up every single week? So another really important thing to remember is that if something is not broken, don't change it. Okay? You don't need to change your macros every single week. Now, are there points and times, like especially in a reverse diet, where we might need to make increases each week? Yeah, for sure. But, realistically speaking, when I bulk for the next, 4 or 5 months, I won't be trying to increase my food every single week. No, I try to get as much growth out of that much food as possible. When I stop gaining, that's when I can increase again. And that's a really good tool to make sure that I'm not gaining too fast, and I'm not just trying to chase a number on the scale, because a number on the scale is definitely, like Devon just said, not representative of what muscle tissue is actually being gained, if that makes sense.
1,000%. Someone said, so what do you do when you don't have consistent schedules from work? I don't know, I'm always burnt out all the time. You can take that one, bro. I'll jump on and see what's up.
Yeah, I had one a little bit further up, but I can definitely take this one first, and then we'll get the cadence question back up top a little bit. But yeah, so realistically speaking, when clients don't have a consistent schedule, it really, really bases on an individual basis. So like, I have some clients that do rotational work. So for 10 days, they are flat out busy. Like going to the gym maybe once or twice is the most they can possibly do. They're doing maybe 14-hour days. They got a kid at home too. I got to drive to and from work. There's only so much time for me to physically sleep and be able to like shower and be a human being. So just because you have a schedule like that doesn't mean that I can't say, okay, during those 2 weeks, if I get to the gym once a week, both those weeks, but then the next 2 weeks, I have 2 weeks fully off. Well, then I'm probably going to be realistic about it and say, well, I just worked 10 long days in a row. I'm going to give myself a full recharge day, and then I'm good to go for a few days. I'm going to have fantastic recovery. I can have lots of time to sleep, lots of time to eat, and I can still make lots of progress in that way. I like to think about things in blocks of time periods. So like how I look at my food in the run of a day, it's a 24-hour period. As long as I get that in during my 24-hour period, then we've checked the boxes for that day. Same thing if I'm looking at a training progression. It's okay, well, for these next 3 months of my training block, this is the split I have laid out for myself, and this is my expectations of how much I want to gain. Just because I can't do it 100% every single week does not mean I cannot get lots of progress at the same time, but it's really about finding something that is sustainable for you at the end of the day. Now I have some people that also do work 48 hours and they're off for 2 days. So same thing. It's totally fine to go 2 days on, 2 days off, 2 days on, 2 days off. And I have people saying, well, I shouldn't be taking 2 rest days in a row, but I have to work for 2 days straight. It's like, that's okay. There's no worries in that, you're still going to get lots of progress going really 4 out of every 8 days of your cycle, right?
Agreed.
But do you have anything that you want to add to that?
I mean, it's really, so I'm trying to think, when I worked a regular job. I got my schedule literally Sunday, the night before the work. So that's pretty much as close as you can get being on call, right? So most of us know we're doing at least for the first 3 days of the week, right? So for example, if you get your schedule on Sunday for the next 3 days, and that's me being nice, 'cause most people do have their schedule the entire week, okay? You can literally sit here, I literally write everything down, write out your schedule, what you have to do for every single day. Like you said, time are like blocks, right? So, okay, 10, let me think, 10 is like mad late. Like 6 a.m., get up, fucking eat breakfast, 7 a.m., drive to work, 8 a.m., so on and so forth. Like write out every single thing that you have.
Yeah, and like literally down to like driving time, how your cooking time, like everything. Like that's what I do at the beginning of every single week. Like if I didn't do that, there's no way that I would stay on top of every single thing that I have to do. You know?
And you
So
not
it's finding a system within yourself that works best for you. And the only person that can really 100% dial that in is yourself at the end of the day. And sometimes it might be a little bit of trial and error. I've sat down and wrote out a perfect, this is going to be my schedule for the next 3 months. Every day I have everything to a T. And then after the first week, I'm like, this is whack. This is definitely not going to work. You know, so come back, brainstorm, reset. Okay, this plan works. It's sustainable. I feel good, and then move forward with that. You know, everything in life isn't going to always work out perfect on the first time, but I can promise you, if you play around with it a bit, there's definitely a way to make it work.
You'll also find, because I see they mention I'm always burnt out. A lot of people, when I look at their agenda and what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, when you're scrolling through TikTok, I'm sorry, that's not relaxation. You're not giving your brain any type of break, and you're not giving yourself any chance for recovery, right? So if you're burnt, you need to take an honest look at yourself and what you're doing on your day-to-day basis. If you're watching fucking Game of Thrones, or that's like such an old reference, holy shit, but like if you're like, I will literally tell my girlfriend,
the legend of a show,
right? Like I cannot watch American Horror Story right now because I do not need my cortisol spike. Like I can't do it. We need to watch, like, yeah, bro, I can't watch Hell's Kitchen right now. Like that's gonna get my blood pressure up. We need to watch something nice and serene. So about what you're doing with your time. If you're burnt out all the time, are you?
What are you giving your energy to? Break that down first.
Exactly. Not to say that probably you do have a stressful life. Like most, not to be that guy, most people do have stressful lives, and it's like this is something that humbles me a lot. Also, like a tough pill to swallow. I promise, and this is so corny, and I'm sorry, but probably somebody needs to hear this. Whatever you think is hard, there's some motherfucker out there probably doing like double your workload. And not to take away from your challenge and your struggle, but I say that to say, if there's a will, there's a way. I hate these corny quotes and shit like that, but we got to keep it real with ourselves right now, right? Like, what you're doing with your time needs to be mind. You need to be how you're spending your time. And it's like sometimes my girlfriend will be like, "Oh, I'm so tired today," and I'm like, "Did you need to scroll on TikTok until 11 o'clock at night? Probably not, right? Like maybe we earlier, right?" And it's well, I only like a big metric that I look at with my clients is like sleep. How long did you sleep, and do you feel actually well rested, or get 11 hours of like junk sleep and you feel like a crackhead afterwards? Because that's very real as well. Like, be mindful of how you're spending your time, and like Kyle said, where are you allotting your energy? If you only have 2 hours free to yourself, just fucking put your brain in it. I say TikTok because I know so many people tell me that they're just fucking stuck on TikTok. Like, be mindful.
Or like if anybody wants like a real thick slice of humble pie, just go on your phone and look at your screen time. You know, what's taking up your life? That's as clear as you can see it.
That's and then also boundaries. Like I have some clients who have been burnt out because they're fucking going out with their friends every single Saturday, Sunday, every Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like, it's cool that you're a social butterfly, but you also exist outside of your friend group. And it's the same thing for work. I used to be bad with this shit, bro. I would let people ask me for questions, for concerns. Literally, it would be like, bro, 10:30. Like, I'm literally about to go, my girlfriend's like, put your phone up, and I'm literally on my phone responding to my question. You have to set boundaries with your work and with your friends and even with your partners about how you're going to allot your energy. Not be available for everyone all the fucking time, because when are you available for, like,
legit? 100%. Because like legit can't agree more. And like at the end of the day, like everyone has a different threshold of what they can handle, how much they can take on in terms of, whether it be stress or timing or things along those lines. But like only you can really sit down and really dissect that for yourself, right? But I did have another question up here from Caden. He says, I have 9 months till surgery. Should I use the time to utilize newbie gains, or should I cut and then bulk? So really, Caden, that really honestly depends on like A, what your starting point is right now, and B, like what your goals are. So like personally, my short answer would be you 150% want to take advantage of all those newbie gains, and like getting in the gym before top surgery is the absolute best thing that you can do for yourself. So like I cannot encourage that enough to get in and get started and really start to develop something, because it's a lot easier when your surgeon goes in to have it come out how you want it to come out, when they can kind of see things lining up a little bit easier, whether it's you've created a little bit of pec tissue or you've brought your body fat percentage down a little tiny bit. It only makes your surgery, and then also the healing, if it's less invasive of the surgery, an easier process, right? Would you agree with that, Devon?
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people have asked, because so for synopsis, like what I did was I bulked. I bulked probably 9 months. So I bulked up until 9 months before surgery, right? And then after that, I cut for like probably 4 or 5 months, because whenever you start to cut, you're like, oh, I'm cut for like 2 months. You're not losing shit in 2 months, to be honest. So
yeah, and
I bulked.
then you're like, oh, I got to keep going for another month.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, one more month, and then I'll be happy.
So I did bulk because I did want to put on quality size, but then I gave myself a nice cushion of time to cut for surgery. And then what I didn't do, I wish I had done, was after that cut, I wish that I had moved into maintenance. But you definitely don't want to get a high body fat, so I don't suggest bulking into top surgery, because the more fucking the more water you're holding, the more like fat there is between the fucking muscle and the surgeon, the harder it's going to be for them to do their job. So I'd never suggest bulking up into top surgery. And then I don't
agree with that. I personally did bulk into my surgery, but I also was like an individual who like for like 10 years of my life like extremely struggled to get more than 125 pounds.
Yeah,
so even when I did bulk before my surgery, like I still had my abs out. So like to say, like if I really flexed them hard, like you could see them. So like to say that I like let my body fat percentage get too high that it would have impacted my surgery, I didn't. But it's also because I started from a very, very, very lean state. So I feel like it's going to be really dependent, obviously, on an individual basis here. But I also would agree with Devin and say that the best idea would be get in the gym, get used to like learning the exercises, learning the movement patterns, get a split that you can stick with for a nice few months so you can see the progressive overload translate. You're going to get a lot of gains just in those first few months introducing yourself to those things. And like, you can, bring yourself a little bit above your maintenance calories, even if you wanted to, that's something you wanted to look at doing and consider it more of like a little bit of a bulk. But I wouldn't necessarily take that too far, because like Devin said, like I would probably do what Devin did. And, for those couple of months, like leading up to the surgery, doing a cutting phase for a couple of months, but then doing a reverse diet. So you're in your maintenance calories, because that's going to be a really good place in terms of like your body is like really fueled up versus like cutting right into your surgery. And then after your surgery, it's not like you can like really do that much, and you're not going to have much energy anyways. So you're not going to want to be like, yeah, let's get peeled for my surgery, because, that's not really doing anything per se, when right after your surgery, all you're going to be able to do is really sit on the couch or lie on your bed. So
had about leading into surgery, because you're already going to lose muscle mass. And then a huge thing that I think I've spoken a fair amount about this, but I was cutting hard as shit and I looked pretty damn good. But when I tell you that I had to apply all of the willpower in the world to not allow all of the cravings I had while I was cutting to just entirely seep in, nothing but sitting on the fucking couch, like dieting super hard before surgery, even if you're someone who's like overweight, you should not, and period, like you should never be having crazy cravings, even if you are like, but if you feel like you're struggling with crazy cravings, pull it back in before surgery, pull it back in and slowly dial your calories a little bit up to the point where you might still be losing weight, not thinking about cheating. Holy shit, every day. Because if that happens, bro, and I have one client who I had to like grab him by the ears and be like, "You stop this now!" Like he literally got surgery, and we were maintaining before surgery every single thing that he ever felt like eating in his entire life, sitting on the couch and eating it. And I was like, "Hey, take a walk, son. Take a lap. This is not." Stop it, because all you're doing is creating this negative, oh, I'm a piece of shit. Oh, I can't believe I let myself get like this. That's not productive whatsoever. So
No, exactly.
like,
And like you said, like the atrophy after top surgery is inevitable. I personally lost over 25
yeah.
pounds at top surgery. I was like, I was close to 149 the day of my surgery, and I dropped down all the way down to 125
God
post.
damn.
So now on another
That's
side,
something.
muscle that you already had is gonna come back hell of a lot faster than muscle you didn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
So did it take me long to get back up to 150 pounds? No, it was like 8 weeks once I got back into the gym and was following a smart food plan and a smart training program. But yeah, and like you're gonna get that back really quickly, you know. But don't, for anybody that is, you know, getting surgery in the upcoming months or sometime, you know, anytime in the near future, like that's something that happens to every single one of us. But you will 100% bounce back as long as you get back. That's literally all it is, right?
Agreed. I have, not to plug myself. Like, and by the way, guys, I'm literally not. I feel like sometimes people ask me questions. I actually sat down and talked about this for 10 minutes straight. Like, I have YouTube videos for every single thing that we have here. Just because obviously we're doing rap live, but I literally have videos where I talk about this shit mad in depth. So, obviously, I'm gonna, like, the link is in my bio, because I hate for people to feel like they're not a nice amount of information, right? Did you have any other question that you?
Honestly, like I had a couple people ask like about what are both of our competition plans, if you were planning to compete yourself,
Mhm.
and what my game plan was moving forward after my last show. So I don't know. I know you kind of touched base, like you were thinking about doing something in like
Yeah.
2025. Did you know what like class that you like be interested in competing in, or what area you'd like to compete in?
Definitely classic, just because I train my legs and my ass too much to hide them in board shorts, and
Oh,
I'm gonna talk shit low key a little bit. I don't think that anybody ever gets into bodybuilding. They're like, I can't wait to put on songs. Like, nobody thinks that. You know what I mean? Like, uh,
yeah, straight up.
you like being realistic with your goals, and you're like, I don't think I can really be competitive in classic open. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. Not to knock anybody who competes in physique, because I know that Cody competes in physique, but he does his thing and he's fucking killer at it. But I just feel like for myself personally, definitely classic. Now, with that being said, I'm not about to step on stage looking like a wet noodle. So I have like a pretty substantial amount to go. Um, but yeah, what about you, bro? I know you just did compete. What's your future looking like?
Yeah, so um, for a lot of people that follow me probably already know, because I've obviously posted about it a few times, that I competed at a regional show here in Newfoundland, Canada, which is where I live and where I grew up. And kind of how shows work kind of similarly over here in Canada as what they work over in the States, in the sense that like you basically need to win a regional show or like get top three, sorry, to qualify to go to nationals. So technically, I won first place in both True Novice for classic physique and lightweight bodybuilding. So for those of you that don't know, True Novice is the, yes, hold on one second, lover. Sorry, my dog's soaking here. But for anybody that doesn't know, True Novice is the competition for people who have not competed ever before in their life. So you've never been on a stage. It's your first time doing the thing. So I did win in both of those classes. I think there was like honestly like 10 or 12 of us in the classic division. So that was a pretty sweet. And then I also competed, of course, in like lightweight bodybuilding and like my regular class for classic physique, and I took first place in those as well. But I lost the overall title um, by like 1 point for both classic and bodybuilding. So now there was a little bit of contrast that came back after that, because the guy who beat me in the open bodybuilding category had like a hernia the size of like my fist, and also had like 2 torn pecs. So those are like I don't know if anybody knows a lot about like how the point system works in bodybuilding, but it's basically like whoever gets deducted the least amount of points of like missing things or imperfections with their physique essentially wins. So like it was very confusing how I lost that. But I'm not the type of person that I'm like, I should have won or anything like that.
Right.
It was more so like afterwards I had like a good few hundred people message me and be like, bro, like if you were anywhere else, like that wouldn't happen like that. So we are like, because I live on a little island out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, like it's not a huge show over here. So like we don't have like national level judges here. So the next show that I'm going to be doing is definitely going to have national level judges at it. Because obviously it would have been super dope. Like, yes, I got 4 gold medals, but it would have been cool to get the huge fucking trophy and be like Mr. Newfoundland and like represent my province. That would have been pretty dope. So I won't be doing that show again, technically, because like realistically speaking, if like everybody kind of told me that like I won the show, in like my opinion, there's like levels to bodybuilding. So like I feel like I've kind of already like been at this level and like won this level. But to make it a little confusing, like yes, I'm at a regional level, but because I'm in like a small province versus like a big province, the competition caliber is a little differently. So if I was to go like up to like Toronto or something like that, let's say, and do a regional level show up there, like the competition is just much higher, if that makes sense. So even though I qualified to go to nationals, I don't think I'm actually ready to do a national level show yet, because most of the guys at a national level show probably have like 5+ years under their belt. I've been doing this for like a year and a half. But also like most of the guys have their weight caps maxed out. So my weight cap for my height is 177.5 pounds. And on stage last year, I was just shy of 155 pounds.
Yeah.
So, you know, adding 22 pounds onto a 5'5" frame is going to look hella different than how I got on stage last time. So, like, how competitive I could be at a national level is, like, astronomically different if I actually had, like, even, like, an extra 20 pounds of, like, legit muscle tissue on. So, basically, my game plan for this, for right now, is, like, it's, like, kind of up in the air because, you know, in this, you know, I don't know exactly what to call this journey and adventure of bodybuilding. It's not like I can say, okay, well, I'm going to bulk for November, December, January, February right now. And then exactly on February 19th, I'm going to be up exactly 30 pounds. And then I'm going to do a cut for 4 months and I'm going to weigh exactly this pounds. And this is how I'm going to look. Okay, that doesn't work like that. So unfortunately, sometimes we're left to like, as we go, make decisions. So in a perfect case scenario, best world, I would basically do this 4-month bulk here right now, run a maintenance phase, and just get back down on my regular like HRT dose, run that for a couple of months, and then go into like full prep mode, which would bring me to competing like probably close to the end of the summer, realistically speaking. So I am gonna have to fly away to do that because, like I said, I do want to do like, if possible, I'd like to do probably like the highest caliber, most competitive regional level show in Canada, because then I know exactly where I stand, and I feel like that'll give me a better gauge on if I am ready for nationals next year or not. But like ultimately, like my goal is to get to the national stage, and at the end of the day, like I'm going to do everything in my power to hopefully, if I'm blessed in God willingly, at some point in time, obtain my pro card, you know? And that's a really huge, big thing to put out there. And I don't think I've actually vocalized that ever on my Instagram, or I've never vocalized that ever, like, on any social media forms that I have whatsoever. But if I'm being completely honest with you, when I first got into bodybuilding, I was like super passionate about it and I loved it. I got engulfed with it very quickly, but I also like was a little hard on myself. I've always been pretty hard on myself, like for the extent of my life, really. In the sense that I was like, yeah, you know, like this can be a fun hobby for you, but that's all it is. You know, you can have some fun with it, you can try it out, blah. But like, never did I imagine getting up on the stage and looking at my stage shots after and being like, holy fuck, that's what I looked like on the stage. Like, and that sense of like confirmation of not just pride, but like, wow, like you actually do have like a little bit of potential to do something with this. Because not to like sell myself short, but like when I first got into bodybuilding, it was like I went to a gym where, you know, there was a lot of guys that were 250 plus walking around semi lean and moving some savage weight. And these were the guys that compete, that I would be competing against. So it wasn't really a thought in my mind that I was like going to come out and be competitive and like come out and like present myself the way I did on stage. But after like doing the thing once, and like after like obviously a lot of people like talking to me and commenting on how I did at the show, I was like, wow, like I actually could potentially go somewhere with this. So not that I wasn't putting my 100% in before, because anybody that knows me knows that I damn well put 100% into effort into anything I set my mind to. But there's definitely like, let's say, a fire created in me in that like, no, like you can actually do something with this and like, you know, represent the trans community in another like, and you know, not that I'm saying that that would be me and no one else is doing that, but like, you know, to be a part of that, you know what I mean? So I was like, wow, like this is like really amazing. So up until the day of the show, or like honestly till the day after the show, I was just thinking like, yeah, I give my all of this, but it's because I just love it and it's just for fun. But now it's like kind of like a mentality shift of like a little bit more hungry for blood in a sense, if that makes it any constellation there.
It makes a ton of sense. I think that's like actually really motivational to say. Like that's crazy, bro. That seems like a good place to leave it off on. Nothing I say will be able to, not to sell myself short, but that's fucking you got me a little bit hyped there, man. Man, I'm really hyped to see what you. I know you said you want to do another regional show, like more competitive. So I'm hyped to see what those shots look like, what that looks like. I know it's gonna be fucking dope, and I guess a good way. I'll leave my little thing here, and then you can sign off. But it's like everybody who likes fitness likes is such a elementary word, but like if you fuck with moving your body within any capacity, like it doesn't matter. This is so corny, but I know there's gonna be someone who watches this like, "Ah, I can't do this because of this, or I can't go to the gym because of that, or whatever." Fuck that noise. Like it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. Like I just went to the gym because I was like, I'm tired of being in my abusive ass house. I'm sure you went to the gym because you didn't have any like I don't have this aspiration, like you just said, to be a bodybuilder. It just kind of like you realize, oh, I have this potential. You never know what you could be doing when you get yourself in motion. So if that's taking a fucking walk, if that's buying a set of dumbbells, like somewhere, just get yourself in motion. Like that's my biggest thing, boiling it down to its finest point, essentially.
Yeah. And like that only translates and expands into our entire life, right? Like in many, many facets. But even like primarily, like one of the best things that I could take away from not just my bodybuilding, but getting into the gym specifically has been like the connections that I've been able to make with like-minded people that, you know, like you can share positive experiences and memories with, you know, not to mention the blessing that, you know, both of us have of being able to, you know, have those really impactful relationships with our clients and like see our clients soar and succeed and like, you know, see the look on their face when they, you know, get those milestones completed. Like, you know, that in itself is a huge reward. And like without starting, without me walking or without you walking into the gym that first day, like neither of one of us would be in a position that we're here today. So like it's not just something that's going to directly impact your health, whether it be physical or mental. Like there's so many doors that open from you just going for it, right? So, hey, Nikki, I see you there, buddy. Let's go.
Boom. I appreciate it, bro. I think we're solid. I think we covered so much fucking ground. I said until 2 and we gave you guys 23 more minutes. Okay, so you can be happy now.
Yeah.
All right, bro.
Yeah.
Answer my question. But yeah. All right, bro. I'll shoot you a message. And we'll talk. But thank you guys. If there was 10 people talking to us in the room right now, it'd actually be like a lot of fucking people. So I love you guys. I appreciate you and enjoy the rest of your day. You too.
You guys are beauties. Have a great day. Get on those
Yes, sir.
gains. All right. Later on. I'll be talking to you later, bro.
Bye, man.